Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. The purpose of this video is to give new teachers that are going on interviews, some questions that could possibly be asked. So if this is something that interests you, stay tuned. My name is Pat and I currently teach first grade in Alabama, and this is my 20th year, I think, coming up. Yes, this is year number 20. And also, guys, it may be my last year. I had some experience in education for the system that I worked for before I became a teacher. So I was actually working at a school before I finished my degree. So I have those years of experience as well. But anywho, and I know for those of you that come to my channel and watch educational videos, you're saying that you're never going to do an educational video again. Yeah, but with it being my last year coming up, I'm thinking, yeah, this is the year I want to really document that last year. But anyway, that's not what I come here for. Neither did you. So let's get started. So first of all, before I dive into the questions that you could possibly be asked on or at your interview, is make sure that you address professionally. It doesn't have to be anything that that is extremely dressy, because you know, as educators, we don't go to school that dressed up. Casual pair of pants, casual top, maybe a blazer or something, some flat or comfortable shoes. Just make sure you go dressed nice and comfortable is the main thing. If you have a portfolio that has your resume in it, some lesson plans in it, bring that along with you. Also, research the district that you're interviewing for. Make sure you know some things about the district. Research the school. Make sure you know some things about the school, especially the school motto, the school's whatever that other phrase is. I'll link it below because I can't think of it right now, but make sure you know those things. Make sure you know some things that the school offers so that you can talk about those things. Make sure you know who the principal is and the assistant principal is, maybe some coaches that are there. So those are some things you definitely want to do. Do your research on the system and the school before you go on that interview. All right, so let's get into some possible questions that you could be asked with your interview. And you could probably go on more than one interview. And most of the time, before they hire you, you will have gone through more than one interview. Now, I can tell you this about my interview. I only interviewed with one school, and the one school that I interviewed with, I got the job there, and I have been there for coming up 20 years. I have been there 19. I just completed my 19th year. So I've been at this one school for 20 years. I taught second grade for 7 years. I taught fifth grade for 7 years, and this year is year number 6 coming up for me, because my first grade class is going to 6th grade. So yes, that is something. So yeah, I'm in my feelings. But anyway, let's get on with the video. All right, so one question, I am looking down because I did do some notes on this because I wanted to make sure that I touched on some very important questions that you would be asked. So I jotted those down so that I wouldn't miss anything. So I will be looking down, so I apologize for that in advance. So of course, you know, on every interview that you go on, one of the first questions that you are asked is to tell me about yourself. So when they ask you to tell them about yourself, and let me say this, there may be more than one person in an interview with you, so be prepared for that too. Not all interviews is one-on-one. Then sometimes it's one-on-one, and then your second one will be more people in it. But I just want you to be prepared that it may not be a one-on-one interview. But when you talk about yourself, you know, just tell whoever's interviewing you some things that you like, things that you do, a little about your family, a little about your education. And definitely throw in some hobby extracurricular things in there as well. So you know, be short, be sweet, and just tell them a little about yourself so they can get to know you. So another question that you could possibly be asked is, what is your teaching philosophy? What is your philosophy on teaching? Make sure that you include, teaching the whole child, teaching every child, no matter what their disability is. Everybody has a right to, an education, a good education at that. And you can also talk about how you're going to do it, what it would look like in your classroom, things like that. Your teaching philosophy. What is your philosophy on teaching? Now, that was one of the very first things that we did back in the day. We talked about the philosophy of teaching that 101 teaching 101 class. Another question that you could possibly be asked is, what would a typical lesson look like in your classroom? So talk about what that lesson would look like. So you may want to start that lesson with introducing some new vocabulary words, some words that students may not be familiar with. Do something to get them excited and motivated to learn that lesson. You may want to model how to do whatever it is first, then pull them in with you to do it again, and you may want to have them do it by themselves and then see if they got it, which is your check for understanding. So that was an I do. I always do it by myself, or we do. I get them to come in and do an example of it with me, and then I do a check for understanding, and then they're on their own. So those are the parts of my lesson. I try to introduce new vocabulary words when I get started. Sometimes I'll assess and see what they know and what they don't know. So just tell the interviewer what, it could be a math lesson unless they ask. It could be a math lesson, reading lesson. It could be a small group lesson, language, writing. Just tell them what a typical lesson would look like if they were to walk into your classroom. Another question that you could possibly be asked is, how would you use your assessments to drive your instructions? Now, after you assess your students, you always want to use that assessment to drive your instructions. Do you continue and go on because they did very well on that lesson, or do you pump your brakes and say, no, I can't go on, they didn't get this, let me go back and teach it even a different way? And sometimes when you are doing your I do, you can do it 2 and 3 different ways. Or if you do your I do one way, do the we do a different way. So you want to teach them in as many different ways as you possibly can, because not everyone learns in the same manner. Another question that you could possibly be asked is to explain your classroom management style. Now, you always want to be positive in this. And even with your classroom rules, you want to have positive rules. What is it that you're going to do to manage your classroom? Of course, you're going to establish your rules and explain those to the kids, show them examples of it. You're going to explain your consequences, model those so that the kids can understand what they are. You're going to also tell them some rewards. You will reward them from time to time with table points, and at the end of whatever table has most points, you will reward them. Just explain what it is that your style of classroom management, how are you going to manage the classroom. You can also go into details like maybe you want the stoplight that is very old, maybe you want to pull cards, maybe you want to do what is a class dojo. Any of those things you can talk about when you answer the question. Another question you're going to be asked for sure is how you're going to communicate with, I'm sitting on my floor so I'm just getting comfortable. How are you going to communicate with parents? And of course you're going to explain that you will get in touch with parents as soon as possible to get to know them, to start talking about their child, to start, a positive line of communication with the parent, so that when the year goes on and the child is breaking one or your rule, and you need the parent to kind of talk to that child about breaking that particular rule to get back in line or whatever, you want to have already established a positive line of communication with that parent. So you could do that by phone, by Remind or Class Dojo, just picking up the phone and calling. Especially at the beginning of the year, you want to reach out to all of your parents. So explain that, what you would actually do to communicate with parents. Even if you're going to send home a bulletin weekly, that's a line of communication. That's some ways you can answer that question. Another question that you could possibly be asked is, how would you differentiate instructions to meet all your learners? You could talk about how you could have a high, medium, and low group for reading, high, medium, and low group for math, for any of your subjects actually. You could talk about how you will teach in various styles to reach various learners, how you would push your high kids and don't leave them behind, and don't focus on the middle, but you got to reach all of your learners. So those are some various ways that you can differentiate instructions. Also, let's say that you have a worksheet that has a passage on it, and they're going to read the passage and answer questions. You could levelize those passages. You can retype the passage yourself so that it's smaller for some kids. You can change the vocabulary words in it as you retype it. And there are some passages that come levelized where it is a high, medium, and low readability. Another question that you could possibly be asked is, how would you incorporate technology into your classroom? So you can use technology for centers as you are teaching. You could point out various things to the students while you were doing them. You could bring in various technologies besides your computer or laptop, your smart board, document camera, bring in some other, educational electronic games that are electronic but educational, and talk about how often you would get the kids on the computer doing various things. They could create a PowerPoint and present it, just a multitude of different experiences is what you want to expose the kids with when it comes to technology. All right, next question. Oh, you may be asked to just explain your student teaching experience, which, I don't have to say anything for that. I'm sure you would, be able to, it will be brand new to you probably, and you will be able to explain, how that went, what grade level you had. If you had multiple grade levels, high and low, tell them about that. Tell them about one of the favorite lessons that you did and the students enjoyed. Some fun activities, yeah, tell them about those things. All right, another question that you could possibly be asked is, and this is that question no one likes to answer. Say it with me. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Yes. All right, so definitely talk about some of your strengths. Talk about some things that need to be worked on, and don't say you don't have any weaknesses. We all have a weakness or weaknesses. So just explain to the best of your ability, some things that you're really good at, and then some things that you may need to work on. All right, another question that you could possibly be asked is, why did you choose that system? So this is when that homework, that research in that system and that school will come in handy. So just explain why you chose that system. Don't say you just need a job and just need to make some money. Come up with the positive about that system. Okay? And the last question that they will probably ask you is, do you have any questions? So have your notebook and have some questions that you really want to know the answer to, something about the system, and just do very well. Be positive, speak with confidence, and just reassure them that you're the best candidate for that job, for that position in that school, in that system, and that you will be an asset. So good luck to you. If there is something else that you need for me to do to explain to you as a new teacher, just jot me a comment down. And while you're going down, looking at the bottom, go ahead and please subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment and click your notification bell. And if you need to pass this video on to someone that needs it, please share it. Thank you guys. Infinity hugs and kisses.